When someone walks into my studio and says, I want to sing better, my first question is always the same. What does that mean to you? And the answers are all over the place. I want to sing in tune. I want to sing higher. I want to belt. Or my personal favorite, I don't know, just better. The last one is more common than you'd think, and it tells me two things at once. One, they don't have the vocabulary yet for what they want, which is completely fine. That's my job. And two, they think singing is a lot harder than it actually is. The second part is what this episode is about. You already do this. Here is something that does not get said enough. Your body is already pretty good at the mechanics of singing. You go through every single day speaking, and during regular speech, there's pitch, there are vowels and consonants, there are dynamic variations. You raise your pitch when you ask a question, you drop it when you're serious. You speed up when you're excited. Slow down when you're making a point. Your voice is doing sophisticated real-time adjustments to pitch, volume, and resonance all day long without you thinking about it. Singing, for the most part, is extremely similar to speech. It is sustained. It is more controlled. But the instrument is still the same. The muscles are the same. The motor system is the same. With the exception of some classical singing, which asks the voice to do things that are genuinely far from speech, most popular singing, pop, rock, R&B, musical theater, country, lives very close to your speaking voice. It just lengthens it and controls it a bit more. So when someone tells me they can't sing, what I'm usually hearing is, I tried, it didn't sound right, so I assumed the instrument was broken. The instrument is not broken. Something else is going on. The perception gap. Here is the first real challenge, and it has nothing to do with technique. What you hear yourself doing is not actually what is coming out of your mouth. A significant part of what you hear of your own voice travels through bone conduction. That signal is quite a bit different from what travels through the air to someone else's ear or to a microphone. It's why hearing a recording of yourself for the first time is so jarring. That voice doesn't sound like you, except it does. That is exactly what you sound like. The version in your head is the filtered one. This matters for singing because if your internal reference is distorted, your self-correction is distorted too. You adjust towards what sounds right in your head, which may not be what sounds right outside of it. The fix is not complicated, but it is uncomfortable. Record yourself and listen back. With a teacher, the teacher becomes your ears for a while. They hear what's actually happening and can guide you toward it. Without a teacher, you have to become your own ears, and that means building the habit of recording, listening, and critically evaluating. You do have to get past the fact that it doesn't sound like you. That discomfort fades. The skill it builds does not. The voice has default settings. Your voice has default settings. At any given pitch, in any given part of your range, there is a way your body naturally wants to produce that note. In voice science, we call this an attractor state, the configuration your vocal system gravitates towards because it is the most efficient solution available. For most people, that default is actually pretty close to the easiest way to sing that note. As you ascend in pitch, your body knows it needs to allow the vocal folds to thin. This thinning makes singing higher, easier. It is the natural mechanical response. But here's where things go sideways. You might not like how that sounds initially. It might feel light or different from what you expected. So you add more weight behind it. You thicken the folds, you push more air, try to keep the sound you had on the lower note. And that extra thickness makes singing higher much, much harder. You'll probably go flat, maybe by a lot. Now you think you can't sing high notes, but the problem isn't your range. The problem is you added a constraint that your body didn't ask for. This happens constantly. Everyone has a concept of how they want to sound, usually shaped by some recording they've heard. I don't sound like Sam Smith. If I try to sound like Sam Smith, it's really not going to go very well. That doesn't mean I can't sing his music. I have my own instrument. But if I override my instrument's natural defaults to chase someone else's sound, I'm making singing harder than it needs to be. I would estimate that the first year of lessons is almost always removing habits, not building new ones, removing the old ones. Preconceived or even trained habits that are actively getting in the way. Where bad habits come from. This brings me to something I think about a lot. Where those habits come from in the first place. The percentage of voice teachers with classical musical backgrounds is really high, and the percentage of teachers with evidence-based backgrounds is very low. What that means in practice is that voice teaching is largely a passed-down tradition. What your teacher is teaching you is probably what their teacher tried that worked for them, blended with things they've tried that worked with other students. That process inherently passes down a weird telephone version of classical technique. The advice is not necessarily wrong, but it often lacks the context that makes it useful. Take diaphragmatic breathing. It is probably the most well-known piece of singing advice on earth. Breathe from your diaphragm. Support from your diaphragm. It is such universal advice that I have basically never met a singer who didn't already know it before their first lesson. And for a lot of classical singing, it is a genuinely solid and beneficial piece of advice. But a diaphragmatic breath has a pretty significant laryngeal tug. It lowers the larynx. For most popular styles, a lowered larynx is one more thing you have to manage on higher notes. And any sort of large breath means there is a lot more subglottal pressure to contend with. More pressure, lower larynx. Those things can absolutely be trained. Opera singers manage them every day. But for the pop singer, the musical theater singer, the R&B singer, it is often counterproductive. The singer comes in complaining that they can't sing high or that their voice cracks. And the very first thing I check is what they're doing with their breath. The right breath is extremely variable. What's the demand of the line? Is it high? Is it low? Do you need your larynx up or down? Are you moving around on stage? Where in the set are you? What breath will your outfit even permit? The right breath is the right one in that moment, and that decision should be made extremely early in learning a song, before the habit forms. What every other instrument knows. Here is something that has always fascinated me. If you walk into a university practice wing, you will hear every instrument other than the voice practicing fundamentals. Scales, arpeggios, crescendos, diminuendos, instrument-specific technical exercises. A trumpet player doesn't walk in and play their concert piece on repeat for an hour. They work the building blocks. Singers? Singers might half-heartedly do a few quick exercises and then sing their songs on repeat. The reason every other instrument dedicates so much time to fundamentals is because those are the building blocks of every piece of music. How well you can execute each component, the interval, the scale, the dynamic control, is the defining factor in how well you can possibly perform the song. You cannot sing a song better than its individual components, no matter how many times you sing through it. This is where research backs up what every instrumentalist already knows. A study of advanced pianists found that total practice time had no significant relationship with how well they retained what they learned. Neither did the total number of repetitions. What predicted performance quality was how precisely each error was identified, corrected, and stabilized before moving on. It is not how much, it is how. What practice actually looks like. So what does productive singing practice look like? Short, focused, daily. The difference between singers who improve quickly and singers who improve slowly is almost entirely in their practice. The ones who are intentional and do shorter, focused sessions improve incredibly fast. The ones who practice on occasion and practice for longer periods of time, which normally means there's no specific goal in mind, improve 3 to 5 times slower. 20 to 30 minutes a day is the practical range, and the research is clear that several short sessions beat one long one. 6 10-minute blocks produce better long-term retention than a single 60-minute session, and the benefit persists for months. One long session feels more productive in the moment, but the gains fade. Before you start, set a goal, not a vague one. Know exactly what you are working on in that session. Then pick the exercise that targets it. Start with your fundamentals: vocal function exercises, scales, intervals, arpeggios. These build the coordination that songs demand. At Voci, we have free tools that will tell you how accurately you are singing intervals, scales, and arpeggios in real time. Practice paths will structure and sequence it for you, progressively building difficulty based on your accuracy. And record yourself. Listening to recordings is absolutely key. You have to build the ability to critically evaluate your own singing. That skill is essential whether you have a teacher or not. Can you do this without a teacher? Yes. Self-directed practice is harder, but it is absolutely possible. Without a teacher, you will have to rely heavily on recording yourself, critically evaluating what you hear, and using tools for objective feedback. A big challenge is that there is a lot of information out there that is not necessarily incorrect, but it might lack context. The diaphragmatic breathing example being the poster child. The wall, if there is one, is soft. You will be most limited in stylistic and artistic areas, and even that is not a hard boundary. It's not so much that a teacher will take you further. A teacher will take you further faster. They help you navigate the challenges and pitfalls. They can explain what the performance practice is. They can help you think about lyrics or character from a more experienced place. As Carrie Reagan puts it, teachers don't teach someone how to sing so much as how to practice. But the fundamentals, pitch accuracy, ear training, breath coordination, range development, all of these respond to structured, self-directed practice. The format of instruction matters far less than what happens between sessions. The one thing. If there is one thing I'd want every singer to walk away from this episode believing, it's this. Your body already knows how to sing. The mechanics are there. Instrument works. You prove it every time you speak. The work is not in building some complex new physical skill from nothing. The work is in getting out of your own way, training the fundamentals, and practicing with enough intention and consistency that the coordination tightens over time. Short sessions, specific goals, daily. It is not sexy. Neither are free throws, but it is how every instrument gets better, and yours is no different. Until next time, keep singing smart.